What's up, YouTube? Devin Midro here. Back at it again. That's just gonna be my my intro phrase. It just, it just feels right, It is a Saturday. It is Saturday the 9th of September. I should date everything. That makes such. In fact, I'm gonna start doing that every single video because I realized that when I was actually adding the videos, sometimes I would have to figure out the date. It was a little tricky to do that. But the videos are saved on the date they're created, so it's not that hard. But it's just an extra step. But if I just verbalize it, makes it easier, right? Critical thinking, problem solving, right? That's what we get paid to do, right? The bigger the problem you can solve, the more money you can make. Really, if you really just kind of look at it from that perspective, that's basically what we do as human beings. We get up, we get out of the house, and we solve problems. We get paid to do it. That's pretty much it, right? Yeah, it's just a big giant ecosystem of billions of people that get up and rely on everybody else to solve their problems so they can solve your problems. Everybody's solving everybody's problems, right? But we need everybody to keep doing that in order for us to operate as a society. Otherwise, it's just chaos and there's no structure, and everybody's just going to be resorting back to our caveman ways, more or less, and the croc brain, right? Fight or flight, survive, procreate, all those basic necessities that take precedence when those type of situations occur. So we're already 2 minutes in, and we have covered a lot of ground. Apparently, just went off the rails, or maybe I went on the rails. Right? Depends on who's viewing this. But yeah, I'm gonna start off with the date from now on. Saturday, September 9th, 2023. That is the date today. And it is 70 degrees as I go up the hill. I go, increase my altitude. And it's probably going to get a little cooler, actually, because I'm going up towards Waihewa, which is the city or town that I grew up in. And it is known for being pretty dang cold, especially in the wintertime, in the mornings anyway, just because of its elevation point. I should know this, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be one of the most elevated points on the island, hands down, for sure, no doubt about it. Outside of Kalava Heights, and there's a few others out there, right? I don't know how high or low they sit. Yeah, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's the objective right now. It's just kind of getting up here. Let's see. Actually, it went up to 71 degrees. Look at that. Of course, there is a nice giant cloud out there, which is conveniently blocking the way of the sun right now, because otherwise it would just be blasting me in the face right now at 6:53 in the morning. But we got a nice big rain cloud, typically right over Waihewa, which is very common. That's what happens, right, with being that when you're that elevated, you tend to get a congregation of the clouds. They like to hang out, talk story, and dump a bunch of rain on you. So that is a disadvantage of living in Waihewa if you don't like the rain, because you're going to get a whole lot of it, especially up the heights. I'm telling you, it's the wildest thing. Everywhere else on the island could be sunny. And, not that I'm actually everywhere else on the island looking at it, but if you even just look at the weather forecast, or just like the actual cloud coverage, everywhere else would be sunny. And in Waihewa will be raining. And not just kind of raining, legit raining. It's coming down. And then you drive systematic format where they could just go down the line and boom, 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 boom. I mean, nowadays they probably have the software, technology, or systems in place that is literally plug and play. Like you can hit a couple buttons, maybe you add this and that into it, and it just spits out exactly what is needed, and then that's it. They're done. You know what I mean? It's like that's really the big push with the whole AI thing, right? And then I see a lot of pushback and like we need to regulate it, and I'm like, hey, I agree. I'm sure that they do, but like anything else that's coming up, good luck. That is a really big part of the government, right? Is trying to regulate stuff, especially new emerging technology like AI, and just like cryptocurrency, right? They still don't have a handle on that. They still don't have a handle on that. And that's been out for it's got to be a decade now. And yeah, it's pretty wild to think about that, Yeah, but it's I would say it's a useful tool, and I have seen it like basically from the beginning of this year is when it really started to get traction. But it's amazing how fast it was able to just really just skyrocket, and I think it's really due to the evolution of AI, and that now it is proficient enough to really be used on a pretty large scale, and a lot of different categories are using it for what they need it for, right? And I don't know, I found it to be pretty interesting. As I've been trying to play with it. This is really the biggest thing, when it's something new that you like, I don't know how to use this or how to do it. Just kind of, play around with it, you know what I mean? Don't go in with expectations of what you're going to get out of it necessarily. Maybe just kind of have an open mind and approach it with like a childlike mentality of just getting in a play state and jumping in and seeing where it takes you, right? That's what happens with a lot of kids is they go into play and they don't know what's going to happen. They know they have the intention. They know what they're going in to do, what they're intending to do. But as far as the result or the outcome, I mean, if you ask them exactly how it's going to play out, I would be pretty set on them being like, I don't know. Just got to play it by ear, right? They just go moment by moment. That's how, kids live, right? At least most kids, live their lives is, they're just kind of letting things play out, and they're not, thinking strategically. Like most, I'm talking like really young kids, right? And not thinking like, when I graduate, I'm going to go to this college and I'm going to do, and some of them are though. Some of them are, they've got that, that influence from their parents, right? To think about that kind of stuff, and they actually are mapping that out more or less, right? But when you take really young kids, I'm talking like elementary kind of days. That's really what it comes down to, right? Is approaching AI or like anything else you approach, I think, with an open mind and a positive attitude, right? Just having being excited, even if it's not necessarily something that you're good at naturally or you're